So hi everyone, my name is Aoife Burke and welcome to this very special webinar. In light of International Women's Day, I'm joined by a very special guest, Molly Benjamin, founder of Ladies Finance Club and author of Girls Just Want to Have Funds. Molly launched Ladies Finance Club in Australia back in 2019 and recently released her first book, Girls Just Want to Have Funds. Molly is very focused and passionate about bringing women together to learn more about money and investing in a fun and engaging way. Molly, thanks so much for joining me today. What an amazing initiative that you've started. I hope I did you justice there, but I think I'll let you take it from here by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no, that was great and excited to be here. So that was a great summary. So yeah, I pretty much started Ladies Finance Club in my living room when I was living in the UK, because I noticed that I was really bad with money. And a lot of my girlfriends, like there was a couple who were good, but most of them, we were pretty bad with money. And a lot of the women I was working with at the time were also not great with money. And I worked in a bank. So that was a little bit like, okay, we're not good at this, they're not great at it. Who is actually, good at this money stuff? And why don't we know about it? And I was talking to some guy mates and I realized that they were talking about investments and property. One of them was buying his second property, and in the nicest way possible. He wasn't like anything special. Like he was just like a normal guy. And I'm like, what is going on? Why are we like struggling? We're living paycheck to paycheck. We're literally borrowing money from each other on like who gets paid first. I'm like, this is not cool. We need to change this. So I literally started running events in my living room with my girlfriends. I'd order pizza, they'd bring some wine, would invite someone who worked in finance. I think the very first one we ever did, it was like my roommate who worked in banking. And we were like, tell us about the money. And that's where it started. And now kind of like, I think it's like 4 or 5 years later, we've had over 35,000 women through our programs. We did a roadshow around Australia. We had 1,300 women come along. We have a podcast and we do masterclasses, courses. We run a heap of corporate workshops with like the likes of Google, Pinterest, Audible. But we're literally all about creating a safe space where women can come and we can talk about money, because it's not part of our socialization and it still seems like such a taboo topic, this thing that we go out and spend every day earning and then no time managing.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's enough education or resources out there already available for women to just kickstart and dive right in.
Totally. And I don't know if it was the same in Ireland, but we just didn't get taught it in our education system. Like we can play Three Blind Mice on the recorder, but tax, no, don't know about that. Didn't get taught about that one.
100%. There's no, you're not taught how to do your tax. You're not taught how to, budget. Like there's none of that. You kind of just have to figure that out once you leave school or leave your education. It's not always easy to do that.
And that's the thing. And if we don't have good money role models, like from our parents, or if our parents aren't teaching us these good behaviors, we are not learning it. Or we're picking up on our parents' behaviors, which might not be good ones. So I have a girlfriend, her parents were constantly in credit card debt. She's now in credit card debt. She's worked really hard to get out of it, but she was just following what she knew. And unfortunately, it wasn't good. So it's really interesting, that whole like money mindset, money beliefs, how we're actually educated about money growing up, because it's such a big part of how we now act with money.
Yeah, 100%. So what was your first point of contact with the financial world? Did you have exposure from your parents? Were they money savvy? How did you gain exposure to finance?
Yeah. So I remember my mum tried to do a budget with me when I was like 23 years old, and I literally cried, which is quite embarrassing, but I just found it so overwhelming. I didn't know where to start. My dad and mum tried to get us into shares when we were younger, but I didn't quite understand it. They were kind of like, this is what a share is, but the concept I just found really difficult to grasp. So I had some, but I didn't really know what they were. And it probably wasn't until I got a lot more money savvy and I actually started investing into the share market. And I really wanted to go to the UK, and I'd bought some shares and I sold them to like buy my ticket and have some travel money. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like this thing just made money and I didn't have to do anything. I like the sound of that. And I'm pretty sure they were like ANZ shares from like ages and ages ago. So that was kind of like my first initial kind of insight to it. But I actually worked for a bank in Australia and I still wasn't switched on to my spending, how much was coming in, how much was going out. And it really wasn't until like, I just started repeating bad habits because I had a goal when I wanted to move to the UK. I was really good at saving, got to the UK and then just blew it all again and had to start from scratch. So it was really interesting. Even though I had succeeded for a little bit, I went straight back into my old habits of being just kind of like, YOLO, this is just how it's going to be. I just will be like broke all the time.
And did you find it hard to be working in the banking sector, or did you find that easy?
It was, for me, it was easy. I've always been in communications, events, consulting, and so for me, the actual jobs were great, loved them, but it was the managing of the money where still had no education really around it. I didn't learn it at school. I didn't do economics or anything at university, but even my girlfriends who did accounting and economics, they still didn't know, like, because you don't put it for your personal finances. It might be if you're doing it for corporations, for businesses, but you don't actually reflect and do it on yourself. I think it's like they say a plumber has the worst pipes. Like, yeah, just because people work in finance, it doesn't mean their finances are sorted.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I'd like to know a little bit more about Ladies Finance Club. So can you tell me a little bit more about Ladies Finance Club? How did it get started and what was the mission and inspiration behind it?
Yeah, so from like the living room with the pizza and the wine, I put on my first event in London and we had it sell out. We had 80 women attend, and the hunger in the room to learn more was so powerful. And I had like, there was one guy in the room and he came up to me afterwards and he's like, I've never seen so many women ask so many questions. And I'm like, I guess actually when there's guys and when there's men and women together, we hold ourselves back a little bit. I don't know why. We just maybe don't want to seem like we don't know what we're talking about. We might be embarrassed about where we're starting at. But like the questions were so good and the women, like it was fantastic. There was real energy in the room. And I was like, wow, there's really something in this. And people are like, oh my God, can you do one on budgeting? Can you do one on debt? Can you do one on this? And I was like, oh, I think there's something here. And I know for myself, I needed it. My girlfriends needed it. So that's really where it started. So we run a whole bunch of masterclasses. We have a club. In our club, it's all about accountability, helping you to actually stay accountable to your spending, learn about investing, get on the property market, and really about growing your wealth. So we have kind of like two audiences, I guess, those ones who are like in debt, they're building their emergency fund, or they want to get on top of their spending, which I think is so much harder said than done. Like people are like, just budget. For many of us, our brains don't work that way. Like just budgeting is a huge challenge for us. So I fully get that because I'm in that category. And then the other half is all about investing and growing your wealth. So they've got the basics down pat. Now they're looking at buying property or buying their second or third property. They're wanting to invest their money. They know about ETFs, about stocks and shares. They're looking for other investments as well. And so we offer a whole range of different benefits on that. And we did an awesome session. It must be 2 years ago now with eToro, where we did a virtual trading contest. And I still get women coming up to me, especially when we did our roadshow, being like, oh, I was in your virtual trading contest, because we had like thousands of women do that. And
It was
so
great.
that was really cool as well.
It was really insightful seeing everyone kind of engaging with each other and participating. It was really cool to see.
I know there was one lady like in her 80s who was partaking, which was so
Wow.
cool. And that was like the oldest I was aware of participant. But
Wow.
I think there's power in just having a play, building up your confidence, and actually getting an insight to this world that has never really been for us. It was kind of created by men, kind of not for men, but it's very much, I find it like an exclusive club. That's why we have the Ladies Finance Club. We've got our own club.
Exactly. And how did you educate yourself to enable educating others? Like, where did you learn how to budget, how to trade ETFs, how did you do that? Like, in order to deliver that
Yeah.
message?
I learned it on the journey with all the other ladies at Ladies Finance Club. So we would run sessions and I'd get experts in, and I would be learning as I would go as well. But what I was noticing was with some of the finance experts, they know so much that they complicate it and they don't mean to. So I had that kind of lovely perspective of being able to be like, why don't we just say this instead of going blah, 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 blah? Why don't we just say it like this? Like, I always use the example of exchange traded funds. It's like a box of favorite chocolates, because you're not just getting all Snickers, all crunchy, or all cherry ripe. I wish, I love cherry ripe. But you're getting a real mix. Likewise, with an ETF, you're not just getting one company. You're not just getting all of NAB or all of BHP or all of Woolworths. You're getting a little bit of Woolworths, a little bit of CSL, a little bit of NAB, depending on what ETF you're buying. So just kind of finding like analogies that work for women. And like when you buy your in shares or ETFs or whatever it is you're buying, again, like, you know, using analogies that women know. Like if I was to buy a MAC lipstick, I can buy that MAC lipstick from Sephora, Adorn, Priceline. Well, let's pretend you can get MAC at Priceline. Priceline is likewise with ETFs. You can get, you know, them from eToro, you could get them from CommSec, you could get them from NAB Trade. Like they're just the broker. So I guess, that's how I learned on the go, and then just kind of coming up with what's going to be helpful to help women.
Yeah. And
But
breaking
I'm
down
learning,
those, breaking
breaking it
financial
down.
barriers for women, like with the jargon, because the jargon can be
So,
so like
I know we're
heavy and
doing this
hard to understand. And then people are,
so
what does this mean?
jargony.
I don't want to know. I don't want to learn.
Yeah.
It's too much. And they just don't do it.
Like, and totally. And some people won't even realize. They'll jump on straight away and they'll be like, so the ASX is down X points. And someone will be like, that's a whole lot of information. I don't know what you're talking about. So, you know, actually
Yeah.
breaking down what those things are, which sounds simple to people who know finance really well. But for a lot of us who have never learned this, we're brand new to it. We don't know it. We've never been taught it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of where but I'm totally like very open and honest with like, I'm constantly learning. Like every single time we do a session, I learn something new, and I love it because I feel like we're all going on the journey together. It's
Yeah.
not me being like, I know this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, cool. Great. Didn't know that.
That's
Probably
great.
should have.
Yeah. That's really
No.
good.
Yeah.
Do you think that it would be more beneficial to have more female role models in the industry like yourself? Like who would you look up to as a leader in finance, or is there someone that has inspired
Yeah.
you? And then you are now, I would say, a role model for women. So I think we need more of you. Like what would you
Oh,
say of that?
yeah, absolutely. And Net Worth just brought out a report showing that the amount of female advisors is declining as well. Other statistics have come out showing that financial literacy amongst women in Australia is going down. We need all the help and support we can get. So
Yeah.
I think especially for women who might be thinking about a career in finance, I'm like, oh my God, do it. You'll get paid really well. Totally. Yeah. So I definitely think we need more role models. You can't be what you can't see. Like I say, can you name a financial role model who's a female? And it's like crickets. Like
Yeah.
there's Kathy Wood, there's the lady Sally who started Elvest. There's Mel Brown, there's Danielle Coulier. There's a couple of them, but there's not many. Like when you think of the guys and the Warren Buffetts of the world and the Wolf of Wall Street, like, you know,
Yeah.
there's so every movie about finance features a white male. Like it's just, we 100% need more role models in this space.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I wouldn't like my parents, they wouldn't exactly be, you know, too budget friendly, or like would never encourage me to do finance. And then I'm not following female role models in finance. I'm following reality TV shows and that type of crap. And I
Totally.
think there needs to be
I
more role models for finance. Like look after yourself and like look after your own personal finances and stop looking at everyone else doing well for themselves. I think having a role model, a lot more women in role model positions for finance gives women more of a voice to be able to get the confidence and start investing, start saving, start planning their own financial future.
And that's what I like about eToro's copy traders as well, because you've got some really great women who are getting some really good returns. And I think that's really cool to see as well.
Yeah, 100%. Recently released a new book, Girls Just Want to Have Funds. It's amazing, by the way. We got it delivered to the office yesterday and it looks so cool. It's like a little Bible. It's like your little Bible go to.
Your little money Bible.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love it. But maybe can you tell us a little bit more about this and what inspired you to write a book, and how can your book help women when it comes to investing in personal finance?
Yeah, so I was really inspired by the Barefoot Investor, Scott Pape. But I knew a lot of my girlfriends never would read that book, even though I like desperately tried to get them to read it. They won't read it. Yeah. So I was like, I want to write something which is very much more female focused. I also found a lot of finance books were for people in relationships, and I'm single. I've been single for a while. A lot of my girlfriends are single, and there was nothing really, I don't know, for us. It was always like, have this conversation, have a day night with your partner, have this conversation with your partner. And I'm like, well, we don't want to delay our money because we don't have a partner. So I wanted to write something for the girls. So it's very much kind of, you start with mindset, it works through budgeting, super, investing, insurances, all the things you kind of need to know but have never been taught in the one place. But then also there's actions at the end of each chapter for you to do with your girlfriend. So it's like, meet up. And I've heard girls, women messaging me on Instagram being like, my girlfriend and I are meeting up once a month and we're going through the different chapters.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Heaps. And I love that, because that's really what I wanted it to be. Yeah. I'm like, don't have a book club, have like a money club, have a ladies finance, have your own ladies finance club, and just work through the chapters. Because if you can, I can guarantee you, and if you put the things into practice, like your financial future is going to look really different. And it's pretty cool to be able to say that, because I've actually, now having done this for quite a few years, I've actually seen women change their whole outlook because they got educated, because they came to our investing sessions, because they have like actually taken action and gone, oh, I can do this. It's actually, and they all say the same thing. Oh, it's not that hard. And it's like, I know, it's just like,
it's just breaking it down. It's just breaking it down. Simplifying.
Finding that time. It can be like, life is busy, like you work, like people have families, like it's just busy, but you've got to make the time to deal with this, because it's one of the longest relationships you'll have in your life, probably even longer than your partner. It is your relationship with money, and like all good relationships, you have to work on it like all the time. Otherwise, otherwise it's gonna bite you.
Yeah, 100%. I think I need to take a page out of your book.
Yeah, but then that's why I say do it with girlfriends, because it's so, like, I did a boxing class this morning at 6 a.m. No way I would have gone unless I was meeting a girlfriend. Like there's just no way I would have gone. So it's like having that accountability to actually do it.
Yeah, I agree. As a role model yourself, how do you think women can build more confidence to start investing? Because investing is kind of a scary subject for certain people. I know personally, when I started working for eToro, I was like, oh, a finance. I haven't been, exposed to this kind of area before. But once I got into it, I was like, actually, this is pretty cool.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, I always say the line, if you can online shop, you can online invest. The process, not a whole lot different. You find the thing you want, you buy it, it's yours. So I think a really good place to start is just like coming along to and not trying to like toot my own horn, but like come along to one of our investing sessions we run. And like, it will be an hour out of your life, but that hour could literally like change your life. If you could just be like, oh, okay, I get the basic concepts now. I can start small. I don't have to start with heaps and heaps of money. Like, still so many people think you need like thousands and thousands of dollars to get started investing. Gone are those days. You can get started with $50. Get started with less if you want. So yeah, absolutely. So like, you can totally do this. It's definitely a mindset thing, but the people who want to do it, they do it. So you've got to want it. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise nothing's going to convince you to
Yeah,
do it. So get
it's
your
not going
girlfriends,
to
get a
push
glass of
you.
wine. Exactly. And the thing is, I think a lot of us are looking for quick wins. But unfortunately, when it comes to this stuff, you have to educate yourself. Like that is the answer. You've got to read books, you've got to listen to podcasts, that it will work. Like, and you can start applying that to your life. And the things like eToro's kind of virtual trading, where you don't have to use real money. If you're feeling not confident, then give that a go for a little bit.
Yeah,
Build up your confidence. Micro investing apps, they're a great place to start. So many, yeah, again, so many people just think like, oh, what if I lose all my money? And again, like when you come to a session, you learn about exchange traded funds, index funds. You can see how, the power of diversification, not putting all your eggs in one basket, putting lots of eggs in lots of baskets, how that can really help you with your investing journey. And it's not scary. And yes, it seems a little male, pale and stale, but it's actually really exciting. And women make really good investors as well, which is again, a narrative we don't hear enough. Like when women, considering we get called emotional all the time, we stick to our goals. We don't lose our cool when the markets go up and down, which they do all the time, because we know that we're long-term investors. So that's really cool to see those statistics as well and be like, oh, we're pretty good at this stuff.
yeah, 100%. I seen those recent statistics and I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And women are more likely to maintain a long-term investing goal because
Yeah.
we are more patient and
Yeah.
understanding and we don't react.
Yes, which is so funny because they're like, women are so
Yeah, I
emotional.
know, I
It's
know.
like, well, we're not when it comes to investing. Yeah.
Okay, so what tips would you give women who are listening to us right now wanting to get started? Maybe 3 tips.
3 tips. Okay. So if you want to get started investing, we always say like, just get kind of like 3 pieces of like kind of housework, housekeeping, whatever you want to call them, done first. So first one is build that emergency fund, 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in cash. This is your rainy day. You never want to be forced to sell your investments because you needed the cash. Investing is long-term. It is not sexy. As I say, if it was an ice cream flavor, it would be vanilla. If it's exciting, then you're probably doing it wrong. So make sure that you've got your emergency money there. It's so important. Make sure you've gotten rid of any bad debt. We're talking credit cards, buy now, pay laters, personal loans, anything with a high interest rate. If you're making, let's say, an average of an 8% return and you've got a 19% interest rate on a credit card, which is the average interest rate in Australia, which is crazy.
Wow.
You're still going very much backwards. So you've got to get rid of that debt first, and then make sure you don't need that money for the next 3 to 5 years. Again, the share market, it is not all up. It is up and down, up and down. But what history shows is over the long term, the market goes up. So you've got to be patient. You've got to understand that this is a long-term investment. So when you can tick off those things, then yeah, come along to a session, read a book. We've got a great podcast episode on how to actually get started. It's a 2-part series on how to get started investing, get the book. There's a whole chapter on investing, but just know that you can totally do this. And if the girl who cried at doing a budget was in bottom math at school can do it, you can 100% do it as well.
Great. That's good advice. I really like that.
Mm.
I think I need to take some advice from yourself. I
Good.
need to
Come along to
stop
one of our
spending more
investing
than I can
sessions.
afford.
Look, and
Um,
again, it's so hard to do. That's why
I
if you can
know.
set up your bank accounts with structure, if you can set up automatic payments, if you can treat your saving goals like bills, then it's just going to make it so much easier for yourself.
Yeah, and I think like we're not like yesterday when we got the books delivered.
Yeah.
We got 3, so we have 2 for an upcoming giveaway, and then 1 we left for the office. We have like a little library, so
Yeah.
you have like investing
Yeah.
books and whatever, so people can take them out. Um,
Yeah. That's so cool.
so our compliance officer came up and was like, "Oh, this looks cool." I was like, "Yeah, yeah." What I explained, and she was like, "Oh, I need to have a read of this. Like, I'm terrible with money." So like, it's not the
Yeah.
only like it's very common, and just people don't talk about it
Yes.
enough.
And know the fact that I used to have accountants at my budgeting events, I think was a perfect example of like, we don't apply this to ourselves and we haven't been taught it. And we're very good at our day jobs, but we might not be applying. Yeah, we might just not know.
Yeah, agree. Okay, so to wrap things up, can you tell us one rule that you live by when it comes to finance or investing? Or even just one rule
Yeah,
that you live by just for yourself?
I guess like something I like, I guess it's a kind of a rule I have because it just happens automatically, is I invest every single week. So
Okay.
I have an automatic payment set up. So money leaves my account every week and it gets invested into, I personally invest into ETFs, but obviously that is not advice. That's just what I do. And I'm going to have that forever. Like I love knowing that even if I haven't gotten around to looking at my investments or anything, my future is growing slowly. And this is a long-term investment. So something for me is, I guess automating my investments. It's just like easy, done, don't have to think about it.
So you're non-negotiable. So basically it always happens every week, no matter what happens.
Yeah, no matter what happens to the market, it just happens. It just goes. So dollar cost averaging.
Great. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Molly, once again, thank you so much for joining me today
No
and sharing
worries.
your wisdom and knowledge. It was very insightful for both myself and I'm sure anyone that listens to us. If you're interested to know more about Molly and Ladies Finance Club, be sure to check it out. Also, grab a copy of Molly's book, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Thanks again, Molly. Thanks
so much for having me.